Very good. During last week's debate, the exclusion zone bill unfortunately didn't receive any scrutiny that it deserves, although it has have a dramatic impact on civil liberties. Most speakers went on long tangents. One speaker even trailed off to talking about some things that happened 30 years ago. Supporters of the bill have claimed that it strikes a balance and is proportional. But is it proportional? By whose yardstick? The government claims it would impede on people's right to protest because pro-life protesters will be still tolerated outside Leinster House. So, that'd be great. But if protests are being restricted to a single controlled area dictated by the government, their independence is completely undermined. The government is choosing who protests and where you protest. From a map I've received, provided with, it is clear that the exclusion zones blot out a tremendous amount of area in Dublin city centre and elsewhere. A pro-life protest would be prevented from marching from one end of O'Connell Street to the other. And that's quite simple. I proudly marched O'Connell Street last Saturday week with the pro-life group, and I compliment Niamh Bryn and their organisers for holding it. Denying that this would be the outcome of the law is simply it simply is not his intention. That's not good enough. That is the unintended, or probably intended, pro-likely intention of this bill. Thousands of people attend pro-life marches each year, including many elected representatives. Protests and marches should be citizen-led. They shouldn't be merely tolerated, so long as they conform to arbitrary restrictions seen by the government. That wouldn't happen in Ceausescu's time. God's sake, who do you think you are? I know you're carried away with yourself. If a march was to enter one of these exclusion zones dotted around the country, participants, innocent citizens, would face up to 6 months imprisonment. Placing restrictions on citizens' ability to express their views as they please is characteristic of an authoritarian regime. I said that. Where are you going to put all these people? You can't put the criminals in jail and the drug dealers. For the love of God, please someone have a bit of common sense here. I know you don't have it, you don't express it. You made huge promises here at the time this bill was brought in, the repeal legislation, safe, legal and rare. Sorry, I mean, God, and 1 in every 7. It's horrific. And you talked in about, Deputy Gould was talking about a lady, he listened to a story. The review of that legislation that carried out a sham review, where you didn't interview one person who decided to save a life rather than end a life. Not one did the person, so-called independent person. It stinks to high heaven. For all the talk of stopping harassment, it seems to me this law would only enable harassment. Harassment by the Gardaí of ordinary people expressing their pro-life views in their own country. When you consider that a third of voters opposed abortion 5 years ago, and many more are sorry that they didn't, because they were misled and blatantly lied to by the government, and then you didn't do any of the, bring in any safety measures that you said you would, but you want to take away the 3-day waiting period, the only bit of protection the vulnerable unborn has. So, Minister, I say shame on you. So the idea that this law is being introduced to stop people from engaging in actions like blocking doorways or harassing people, that's totally untrue. There's ample legislation to stop people doing that. The Commissioner and all the other Gardaí have told you that there's no need for this legislation. It's there on the statute book. But you're in a mad frenzy, a bloodlust, that you can't get enough abortions and you can't have enough people and services, and you're going to force all the hospitals to deliver it, and you're going to stop anybody from saying anything. This is some democratic country that you're elected to. I think you're elected in the 15-count, Minister, or was it the 16-count?
Deputy, shouldn't make those sort of charges against the Minister. They're not.
It's not a fact.
No, they're not.
When you treat the truth, it's difficult.
No, please, now.
Count Cola. We were told the porkies, and we're told. I'm taking other people's time now, but
I heard as well as anyone what we were told.
Yes.
But it is not appropriate to make those personal charges.
I say elected in the 15 to 16 count. What's wrong with that?
I know nothing about that.